Hey, hey, how we doing, Matt?
We got a lot to get into today.
Yes, we do.
I'm excited. That's what I'll say.
Me too, me too. How's your week been?
Uh, it's been good. It's been pretty good. Can't complain. Redoing some web stuff, trying to get some website stuff out, and I know you also had some website that stuff that you were doing. So, um, perhaps in the next episode we can do a whole rundown of like in review building a new website for a startup and how that kind of works out. What's the process and like what are the issues and stuff that we had to overcome in that. So
I love
I think.
that. I think, yeah, we should definitely talk about sites, brand, everything in that like marketing realm in the startup world.
And we do have some marketing stuff today to go over. So hang tight. We're going to go over the recent Dribbble logo redesign, the product or marketing debate, which is harder, uh, and then a little thing at the end, maybe for those who also would benefit like we would, how to focus better. Because I struggle a lot with trying to figure out how to spend my time designing, really designing, and not being distracted by other things in life. So I think that there's some tips that I came up with. Maybe you could use. I definitely need to implement more of, and then I've already started, and I think it's already been working. So why don't we just get right into it? Dribble. What do you think? What's going on? First reactions.
It's so irrelevant. It feels like a student project. I
So
don't
for
know
those
what
who
else
wait,
to
wait,
say
wait, wait, wait,
about it.
wait, back up, back up.
Yeah,
So for those who
yeah.
don't know, why don't you explain?
Absolutely. So, Dribble, the height of designer cool, circa early 2011 through 2014, and then circa the peak height of coolness in design around 2016, 2017 ish. From there, it had a falling off point. I think we should do an episode on the conspiracy theories that I have for Dribble as well, around like its ultimate fall into just nothingness, because it got kind of hairy. Like we all aimed for the pop page, and that was super cool to do. It was awesome to see like friends up there, yourself up there with bragging rights, and then it ultimately became this place where it was just teams, and most of those teams were Eastern European teams who set up shop in San Francisco, maybe, but we're all out of like Estonia, Ukraine, anywhere over there, which like more power to them. Fantastic business model. But when your entire business becomes how can we make triple shots so that we can get engagement, as Triple is now pivoting towards the platform of the what was it, the recruiting aspect of it. And so they made that very lucrative for themselves. Good for them. I think we should have a whole episode on it at some point because it's interesting. I've worked with a couple of those companies too, as I've like contracted out agencies. A lot of them are fantastic, and good for them for being smart enough to use Dribble as the business like that. But ultimately, it falls down to how Dribble treated itself, and that ultimately led to a decline. And now we're here, like what, 5 years post that decline, and they're cranking out a new logo. I saw one of their lead designers a few weeks ago tweeting at somebody mentioning that they aren't relevant anymore, saying, "Funny, we have the most numbers ever right now. I don't see how we're not relevant." I'm like, I don't know. Has any designer that we know posted on Dribble in like 5 plus years?
I mean, I know designers that do it, but they don't do it to get anything more than it's more of a portfolio thing, just to keep up their own
Yeah,
brand. There's no, I mean, I don't know. I know they had issues in the past about people, original version of Dribble that we used to love. Just for disclosure, we don't love Dribble anymore, and the reason is because there was a lot of significant changes that have tarnished the brand, the quality, and the excitement around that community, which I think is probably the most significant point of all. And one of those things was people were able to contact each other on Dribble, and then all of a sudden they started changing the algorithm of what was happening. They changed the format of like what page you would be on, and it kind of changed a lot of the culture around Dribble. Uh, but like you said, all those agencies started coming in. Fine, that's great. But for those who just wanted to have fun and make stuff and share it and get some feedback and improve, that really wasn't the case. It was becoming more about like, what can you make so eye catching that it would draw attention, get clicks, and then what? People were reporting at the time. I remember when I kind of dropped off of it that they weren't getting a lot of work anymore from it because the algorithm changed with the way that they were like structuring the new business plan. So it really irked a lot of designers wrong because they were in a position that they were succeeding, and then that success was taken away from them based on the technology shifting of the platform.
I will
And
hang on. I want to cut you out there because
sure,
that's always I struggle with this a lot because like we all have like the hate for Dribbble now and like everything they did. They went very corporate, yada yada, and I fully agree with it. However, one of the main points of contention that everybody's had is I don't get any more leads from Dribbble. Like as soon as they went to the recruiting platform dynamic, I did no more leads basically.
yeah.
I was still getting leads like at least 1 to 2 per week for specifically icon design. And I think I picked up like 4 or 5 contracts off of that I like actually enjoyed. And then I also had somebody else reach out to me in like late 2021, early 2022. That I ultimately turned down and I did some freelance for them. Like a little bit later, we reconnected. And now I work there. I work at MakeLog because our founder reached out to me on Dribbble in
Okay, well,
late
that's a great
2021.
success story. Awesome. I'm happy for you. Unfortunately, I don't think it's the case for majority of people on Dribbble,
No, not at
and I
all.
hope that that was. But my point being that the consensus that I was seeing, at least at the time, was that people were losing out on opportunities based on this gatekeeping of the community. And full disclosure, I probably would have done the same thing too as Dribble did. I'm not saying
Oh,
that their
absolutely.
business
They
model,
had like no revenue model there outside
yeah,
of the like thirty
ads and
dollar per
whatever.
year plan. That was it. That was their
Well,
whole
they had the
thing.
ads and they had the subscription, and then they changed it. They
But if
had
you
this
had a subscription, you weren't facing ads. So like if
right,
you're an invite only platform, so like
yeah.
you've already got that going for you. Now people are subscribing to it. And because of that, most of your users are probably going to be paid users and they're not going to be seeing ads.
Anyways, my point being, the community did not feel comfortable with it anymore. The existing community. Now, whatever it's evolving today, I hope that they make a lot of money and they hope that they help other designers get their jobs and get roles and help just the community be better because they are a community platform. That's ultimately what they started out as. I don't know what they are today. I don't really use it anymore. Kind of maybe I'll go on to see like what other UX patterns people are implementing on certain things, and then I'll be like, okay, I can take like five things and combine like the best parts about all of them into something. That's what I'll probably do if I'm stuck on a UX problem that I haven't solved before. But that's about it. I don't really use it for anything else. I don't post anymore. As a matter of fact, I should probably take down some of my own work because it's so old and just replace it. But long story short, and again, we should also, like I said, off the podcast, we should have Zach, CEO of Dribble, come on the pod and talk about this
For
kind of
shit.
change in the community and the sentiment overall. I and kind of like how you can whatever. I saw yesterday that they had a new logo, right? They updated the logo,
I
and
do.
you hate it.
I
I
do.
I just think
I'm
it was kind of
indifferent about it.
odd.
I more so joking than anything else. It's just you feel when a company rebrands, it's typically to generate a ton of hype, and this just felt like it existed in a vacuum. Like nobody's talking about it. It's not like they introduced a new platform or like this new initiative that goes around why they've rebranded. It just feels like, oh hey, we updated the logo. And it's like, well, great, but why?
When you update a brand like something significant as the logo, there's a couple of reasons why. Rarely is it ever we just felt like it, right? I mean, it's possible, but it's rare. Oftentimes, it's because they, like you said, they need more publicity, so they try to rebrand and kind of reintroduce themselves, and that's I think fine, but I don't really see how successful it really was uh, for that particular community because Dribble is very special in that it is run. It is a community run by designers, right? And our community being designers, are very particular, and we want to see nothing but excellence. And not everyone can deliver on that. Fine. But I did not see many people that were like, wow, this is amazing. I love this logo. They're all like, it was kind of like a silent fart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what
And
they should have done? They
what?
should have made it really bad. Like it should have been horrible so that people were actually talking about it.
Well, I don't want them to lose the whatever respect that people have for them already. I think that, like you said, that the logo does look immature. It does look kind of like a font that you just picked and typed. It's very not like human. It feels very cold
It's
compared to the
cold.
old
Yeah.
logo, and I think that
And
that irks me a lot on that particular
dude,
front.
90% of their brand was that logo. Like, if go look at your sticker collections, any designer that exists, you're gonna have a dribble type logo
Yeah.
sticker in your collection. I've probably got 30 of them. Like all the pink basketballs that have the dribble logo on it. Like that was what people knew dribble for. And now
Yeah.
that's like I don't know. I feel like that was the one thing they had going for them.
Well, we salute Dribble's logo for carrying us and the design community for so long, giving so many of us opportunities, giving us so many connections. You know, you can't say that Dribble was all bad if you did think it
No.
was, if you think it's bad now. It was, and I do think that there is some soul left in it. But it was really just an amazing place to be on the internet for designers, and I thank them for creating that space for that. But what the fuck are you doing to your logo and your brand? You're ruining it. Okay. So that was number one. Number two, real quick, product or marketing. You and I had a discussion, and I was saying that I'm trying to build a marketing website landing page thing for our company, for our startup, and so are you. And for you, you come from more of a world of marketing, and I come from more of a world of product. And I was saying that for me, it's really difficult to do marketing. You're like, no, it's so much more easy to do marketing. It's so much harder to do product. And we're going back and forth on this thing. So why don't you discuss a little bit with me on that?
Absolutely. So yes, I come from the world of ad agencies and then into product design and then back into marketing and now into a large mixture of both.
Everything.
Um, it's yeah, I there's different pieces to this. I've been like as self-discovering over the past few days. I've cranked through multiple marketing websites. I think from the design end, like purely the visual end of this, marketing is far easier because you don't have to deal with any of the bullshit behind it when it comes to building things. Like I some of the marketing components on the site, I'm just like absolutely hacking together pieces of code to just like make an animation look right or an interaction or something like that. And after like battling with these types of things for over an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, I'm like, damn, this is literally just to get an animation to fire for like a fake version of the thing that we sell. Like, end result of this has nothing to do with what we actually sell. It is purely to look good and draw interest.
So,
Whereas post product, which is the opposite,
so
highly functional.
here's my take on this. I think product is easier, maybe because I'm also a little more biased and I do it more often. And to me, marketing is about being extremely creative and trying to draw people in, whereas product is about keeping them there, right? Keeping them there and
Yes,
wanting
that's
to
a
use it.
great way to put it. Yes.
And I find that drawing people into something, I can make something work so much better than majority of people in the specific area of focus, right? Fine. But I cannot, for the love of my life, figure out the simplest designs for marketing. I get so overwhelmed. And for me,
Dude,
that's
just look
like,
at linear.
yeah, like everyone else, right? I'm trying so hard not to do that. Like, it is so hard to not be like, let me try getting inspiration from this. Oh, they did purple and dark. I guess I should do purple and dark. And everyone's doing that. So I made a very clear goal in this particular project to not do that. And it is insanely hard because they all still end up looking the same, anyways.
Oh yeah.
You get your bento box, you get your header, you get your footer, and then whatever. And you can do something really cool. Like, I don't know if you saw runway.com, go check it out while I'm talking. And they have this really a wonderful theme that's kind of like an like an airplane sky emotional experience, and it's animations and it's very cool. It's very eye
It
catching.
is
It's
a
not really
lot.
usable. Yeah, it's a lot.
No.
If you actually use the command plus minus, you can't really zoom in on the text, so it's not very accessible for those who might need
Yeah.
it to be. So there's some issues with it overall as a website, but that's not the point of it. The point of it is to draw people's attention to it, right? I'm sure then sooner or later they're going to evolve into something like linear, which is just
Yeah.
straightforward, accessible, it's easy, it works with SEO really well, blah 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 blah. So for me, I'm like in this balancing act of can I make it useful and usable, but also like really attractive and like whatever. So I'm trying to find those little things to it, and I find that it's just so much harder to come up with an answer that is more an emotional tie than it is a product, which I know is structured logically. I know A plus B equals C. If users don't like this thing and they like this other thing, I should do more of the other thing or improve the first thing. It's very logical to me. Marketing is not logical to me. It's very emotional, and I'm trying to reset my mind to fit that. What do you think of that?
No, you're 100% right. It's not just making it look good. It's very much so like the emotional tie, and all of that starts with narrative. Narrative is what drives brands. I mean, I'd say any when you it's like that bell curve of designers. Once you sort of start out, you're like, I'm just gonna make it look like everybody else because I'm gonna try to make it look cool, and then you get to the top, and it's like, oh, well, you got to do this, this, that, and this, and everything else, and then you get down, you're like, I just want to make it look cool. But
Yeah.
there's a part in there that's I find myself falling into this anytime I work on a brand. Is when I start a brand, I try to make it look like something else. I obviously you're taking inspiration, reference, whatever you want to call it, and it's gonna look like somebody else. And then you're gonna change things. You're gonna shift things around. You're gonna see what works for you. But what I always find myself doing, I've tried to get myself to do it first rather than in the middle of the process to rework everything is focus on the narrative. Focus on what makes your company, your product, whatever it is you're designing a brand for you, and then take it from there. It may not look great to begin with, but you got to trust the process there. It's not going to look good at the start because it's different. It's not something that you can just go and like look and see on Pinterest or SaaS landing page or whatever place you're looking at because it doesn't exist. And you know all the glitzy and glamour brands like look at Wope, Reflect, any of those that look like linear. Sure, they have a huge kick on Twitter when somebody first posts that website. They're like, "Damn, this is cool," and then 10 minutes later, I mean, I was struggling to remember their names right there.
Mhm.
So that compared to the originals, the OGs of being able to do these unique brands like at Stripe and Linear, they weren't referencing other brands doing these types of things, and yet they are the ones that people remember because they stayed true to themselves doing this. There's plenty of other examples out there that do, and because of that, those are the ones you remember. They may not get the most hype at the onset, linear aside, but they
Well,
stick.
yeah, I think it's okay if people copy and recreate some of the more obvious websites that people go to for inspiration, and then eventually start to branch away from that. I think it's kind of how you grow and learn as a designer. I'd urge people to kind of a technique that I used to do, and I should do more of if I have more time, which I don't, is take someone's website or someone's app or someone's icon, whatever, pull into Photoshop, Sketch, Figma, whatever your tool is, recreate it, and then trash it. And
Yeah.
because you're not really making it, and you don't need to, but you're trying to create the memory, the muscle memory of how did they do that, so you can do it without having to reference it, and you understand the decision making of how they actually built it, and then therefore you can use that same decision making for something different. So that's what I recommend to people who are trying to get into this stuff. But to me, I still can't find a reason to say that marketing is easier than product, even though you think it's the opposite. Maybe
Should I
we'll just
drop my analogy on the
go for it.
audience
Go for
here?
it.
I told you this like a couple of months ago, but I've always thought of product and marketing. So stay with me here. Product is, oh geez, product is skiing. It's or wait, I'm getting my own analogy
Doesn't
wrong
even know his
here.
analogy, trying to take me
I
down
don't
without
know
it.
because I haven't said it out loud in a bit, and it's like it's so easy to confuse the two.
You just said
But
something the other day. in Slack.
No, that was the polish the car, not the cloth. That one's different.
Oh,
I would say marketing and product is wow, I'm really failing to like remember what this is. I'm having a total brain fart. And this was like the analogy that I stood on here. It was that marketing is snowboarding. That's it. Marketing is snowboarding. It is harder to get up front, but easier to, sorry, harder to learn, easier to master. Product is easier to, harder to learn. No. Oh my
hey,
God.
buddy,
This is a failure.
you should
Can we
practice.
cut this out of this? This is such shit. I can't believe I'm going to find this. Because it's like, it's one of those reversal
Yeah. No,
metaphors.
I
And
get
because
I
of
get
that,
I
I
get what
get
you're
tripped
saying.
up.
It's yes. I understand where you're coming from. I don't have an analogy off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's kind of like if you just, it's rather the effort of something is kind of either up front or at the end. You're just switching it based on the
Yeah.
context. And I get it. It's fine. You don't need to explain it. But maybe next episode you can come up with a better analogy for something else. I
Yeah.
want a new
Jesus.
analogy every episode from you.
Next episode, I'll give my polish the cloth
Okay, polish the
analogy.
cloth.
That one, I feel like I had that one before I went to sleep the other night, and I was like, wow, that was like stupidly
You
good.
were like, profound. Let me write it in my book of analogies.
I do. I keep a notebook next to my bed just for those instances. I haven't gotten weird enough to keep one of those like waterproof notebooks in the shower because I,
Oh, I was like,
yeah, you know, like all
waterproof
the
next to the bed. I was gonna have
oh
some
my
questions there,
God,
but it's not this kind
all
of
of the
podcast.
all the thought leaders that are just like, yeah, man, you gotta keep a source of inspiration and notes everywhere. Like you're in the shower, get yourself a waterproof note, like that kind of shit.
Well, I'll be honest. My best ideas come in the shower. My best thoughts for what I want to write, what I want to podcast about, what I want to create, how I solve solutions. They're always in the shower. I don't know why. Maybe it has to do with the steam, the fact that I'm not by a phone. Maybe it has to do with like I'm just thinking to myself and there's like hot water. I don't know what it is. Or maybe water itself is just like some sort of like mystical thing and it just kind of has ideas coming out from the shower head into my brain. I don't know. But I like it and I'll keep doing it. And I should get a notepad in the shower, but I don't think my girlfriend's gonna like that. Um,
I got the
so
analogy, by the way.
what was the
I
analogy?
just figured out where you were talking. Product is snowboarding. Product is way harder to get into. There's a ton you have to learn up front, be it user behavior, certain patterns, everything else. But once you understand all of those concepts, it becomes significantly easier to master. Whereas marketing is skiing. Marketing is so easy up front. It is that first example of being able to sit down and say, I'm going to make it look like anybody else. I know how to make a visual look cool, and that's great. But it is significantly harder to master because that introduces the narrative and the emotional component.
I'd actually still disagree with you on that, but there's another three layers to this whole discussion, which is the context of what are you marketing and producting for? Is that a word, producting? Enterprise
Yes, it is now.
startups and doing like, solo stuff on
Oh,
your
geez.
own.
It becomes, yeah, the ball game is just completely different sports.
Yeah, and I think it's way more fun for startups than it is for enterprise. We all know that.
Yeah,
But I think
absolutely.
that's
It
just
becomes
because
a
people.
numbers game.
Well, isn't it just because people in enterprise are just they're just not like I don't want to say not allowed to, but like there's people in the way, like bureaucracy is in the way
Yeah,
of
there's an
them.
expectation.
Yeah, it prevents them from doing like I remember working for IBM. We had the opportunity to redesign our marketing page for whatever reason. We had our own separate marketing page than all the other products at IBM. I don't know why, and it wasn't good. And so we tweaked it every so often, just kind of updated the text on it. But I was like, why don't we just like make something really freaking awesome, like an Apple.com website? You know what I mean? Like where they have like the cool animation where they scroll and it kind of flips the phone around, then it zooms in. We can do that. Apple can do it. We can do it. It's not that hard. Like we're not that unsimilar. It's just the amount of care we put into things. That's why we
Yeah,
are always
you're not
behind.
splitting an atom.
I mean, sometimes we are, but you know, it was just the quantum stuff maybe, but we were trying to do it, and then we got on the phone with the salesperson, or we got on the phone with the marketing person. I don't remember who it was, and they were like, "Oh, wait, your website's different than the rest of the products? Oh, let me get you this person." And they sounded the alarm, and then they roped our website back into the fold of every other website in this, like, CMS that IBM created, and it was atrocious. It was so boring, it was hard to look at, it was just gross, and, it didn't even have any images really on it. It had, like, maybe 1 image of, like, a tiny blurred out version of the
Nice.
screenshot of the product. So, because it's so many cool things, and they refused to because it was hard to manage. But I'm like, why is another team way over there has nothing to do with us managing our product, right? The designers on the team should be managing the product's experience to like the touch points of how you actually interact with the product, being the marketing page. So long story short, it was a mess. Um, so I think at that level, it's probably really hard to make something nice, but it's really easy to get the marketing stuff done because it's all in content writing, as opposed to like having to figure out and get approvals from everyone. But then there's startups, which you and I are more familiar with right now. Although you did some stuff for Facebook too, I would say
Oh,
that that's pretty
well,
enterprise.
yeah. I mean, like hell, DigitalOcean was enterprise by the time I got there. I mean, we just put on the suit and tie and IPO'd, and that was. I mean, we did like a brand refresh, and that was hell.
Mm.
It was everybody from the corporate world stepping into DigitalOcean, trying to put on the big boy pants, and DigitalOcean historically was a very visually influenced company. I mean, the whole point of their existence was being the best looking and best functioning cloud platform. And they lost that when they IPO'd. We did a brand refresh, and the
Mm.
majority of that time was just trying to sell that being a mature company didn't mean having a suit and tie on. You can be mature and still be wearing a t-shirt. And that was hard to do. It took a lot of selling to be able to try and keep the visual energy going with DigitalOcean. I wouldn't say we did it hyper successfully, but I mean, I'd say it
Wait,
was a win that it is still illustration based.
wait. You're telling me people still wear ties?
C-suite, yeah,
Okay,
their
I've never seen a
CEO
C-suite
was.
person not on video wear a tie.
You're saying you haven't seen?
Yeah,
Wait,
like people like so when executives come to the office, they were never wearing ties, but like when they're in a video talking to stakeholders, like
oh
stockholders,
yeah,
yeah, they're wearing a tie. But like I don't know anyone, any adult that's not going to a wedding or a funeral or whatever like special occasion, a marriage, whatever, a baby shower, whatever it is, um, they're not wearing ties. I've never seen that. It's like an outdated thing now. Like the thing is just like a nice shirt and a nice jacket. I've never seen people really wear ties anymore.
which is maybe a good thing because I feel as a culture we've grown less, not professional, but less black tie. Because I feel like that's such an odd point. Anytime we go to a wedding or something like that, and it says like what they'll call it black tie, and I'm like, yeah, but how black tie is it? Or if they don't specify, and then they just like throw out a word because everybody has heard the phrase black tie event, and it's like historically, like black tie means tuxedo. It does not mean wear a shirt, suit, and tie. And I feel maybe that's a good thing that we have gotten into this world of just wear the open shirt and a blazer and an everyday suit as a pair
Yeah,
as a yeah.
I agree with that. I was surprised when you said suit and tie because I'm like that example, like it
This
pretty
dude's
much.
background was just like
First of all,
always the crazy dark oak wood bookcase and like a very like astute and yeah,
I
it
got
was an interesting experience compared to the founders of DigitalOcean, who I only saw on video one time when we IPO'd, who were just absolutely hungover from their night of partying before the IPO. Insane. I love those guys.
yeah. I think in the new age of startups, people really aren't gonna get that drunk. I just don't think people really cared. I think they're
People
more
don't drink
like
anymore, man.
I slow down. I think more people are getting into psychedelics than they are drinking and whatever. I don't smoke weed, whatever. I don't do psychedelics, full disclosure. But I do drink a little
I
bit.
know you don't smoke weed because you just referred to weed as a psychedelic.
No. I'm saying the separate thing. I'm saying the separate things. I didn't. Yeah, no. No, you're misquoting me there. No. I used to say I don't do weed. That's how you know
Oh
I
man.
really have
Oh
never touched
no,
weed.
Mitch. We went
So
to art school, dude. Come
Uh,
on.
do you see this? I'm as straight as the wood behind me. So I'm terribly not. I'm very much not somebody who likes to experiment with that kind of stuff, drug and whatever. I'm interested in the use of psychedelics in mental health, but I'm not interested in the use of that in extracurriculars. Let's put it that way. But back to the
Mitch is
whole
gonna frown upon your designs if you made them under the influence of psychedelics. You heard it here, folks.
like I have no problem somebody using them themselves. I just don't. I think that there's like a purpose for everything put in your body, and I think that psychedelics have a very specific purpose. Usually, it's to find yourself or to unlock a question you don't know the answer to, or don't know the question it exists. And for me, when I see so many people just doing it like casually. Uh, I feel like that's something that it's an indicator to me that it's difficult for that person to have fun and enjoy the moment and enjoy the world as it is that they can take in. And they need a substance to kind of elevate that experience because something else underlying is wrong. And I've never seen somebody, correct me if I'm wrong, where they're casually doing it and everything is perfectly, you know,
Oh God,
howdy
no.
doody.
I think that's
And
kind of the point of drugs. But
well, same thing with drinking
is this
and
like a
weed,
regular
whatever.
thing that happens around you, like in this circle in Texas? Because like
There
I
are
feel like
so
founder
many.
culture has become this bubble of like your body's the temple, fitness, like you're asleep by 9, wake up at 5, cold
Look,
plunge, like
I am so for that. I
me
love that,
too.
and I
I
want
love
to
that
promote
we're
more of
now
that.
in this culture of like being good to ourselves and our bodies because I feel like even like 4 or 5 years ago all the like founder articles were like here's the 27 drugs I'm taking daily just to survive and I'm also microdosing and that's like why my business is successful. I feel like that was a serious like New York hustle culture mixed in with the new money Californian folks bullshit and now it's like let's not do bad things to our bodies and let's just kind of chill and be better and live longer.
I don't
We
see
will
why
talk
that
about the
shouldn't have been.
anti-aging guy. I don't want to talk about him.
Fine, fair enough. I think that overall, uh, I'm a stickler, and I don't like to have fun. I like to be in bed by 9. So I do like to have fun, but I think you can have fun. I think you can have fun sober and on a routine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Sometimes it's good to kind of break away from that. Fair enough, and I like to do that too. Change it up a little bit, but you always come back to your routine because you know that it actually works pretty well. Usually, people are comfortable with that, but we'll get into user psychology, behavior, and habits. Another episode. Let's finish this episode with how to focus better. Right? Don't do drugs, but there are other things you can do to actually focus better. I know that Huberman and all them have supplements that help you focus, and like they talk about it in science, and blah blah blah, whatever. But there's other things you can do besides supplementing, besides Adderall, whatever drug of your choice is, to improve your focus. And I'm gonna read off the list of things, and I think a couple more in my head. I want to see if you do any of these. Number one, brown noise. So basically, it's like a lower pitched sound instead of like white noise. It's just lower pitched. I found that this actually improves my focus for some reason. I don't like coffee shop clinking and clanging. I don't like honestly. I don't really like the WeWork people like walking around asking questions and people like yelling on their phones.
You
I really
getting
don't like
hassled
that.
the WeWork?
I don't. I don't.
What are
I
you
don't.
working
I
on?
really don't. But I like
They
going
walk up,
into.
they don't say, what are you working on? They walk up and say, what are we working on? TM.
It's not you work, it's we work. Uh, but no, they're actually really annoying because they always suspect that I don't work there, I don't pay, so they always bother me.
Oh,
So
geez.
that's really annoying. But that's not really what I'm trying to talk about. I'm talking about like the actual noise in the
Yeah.
room. People like on their video calls and whatever. I like focus. I really like peace and quiet, but I need humans around. So that's why headphones are great. And that's what I'm talking about brown noise. So brown noise, it's kind of like a sound, but
It's the
like
airplane
lower.
noise.
It's a what?
Airplane noise. That's how I first
Yeah.
discovered brown
Okay.
noise. Somebody tweeted about like the amount of work I get done on airplanes is insane. And I've always thought, and they did like a deep dive into like it's brown noise with the the engine stumbling and everything else that creates that kind of atmosphere. I always thought it was cool. I don't partake per se. I shout out Lo-Fi Girl. That's my jam right there. That is on like anytime I am working. Either that or just like very chill lo-fi playlists.
Yeah,
Not like
lo-fi, also
yeah.
great. I'd elevate the category of that to say music with no lyrics.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if I'm doing like any kind of coding,
Yeah.
like yeah, any actual language just screws me up. Design, I'm a lot better about it, but
Yeah. So
yeah,
okay, so we
engineering.
have brown noise, we have music no lyrics. So you don't do brown noise, but you do music with no lyrics. Timers. So being focused. Uh, well, let me just finish up the noise section of it. The fact that you're listening to something and it's just a repeating pitch or just a sound that is just flowing through your ears, it somehow elevates my focus, probably yours too, and you lose sense of everything around you except the thing you're doing. And that's why I love it because it's in your head and there's nothing around you that should be able to distract if you're really using it properly. It just lets you sit in your world. So that's what I'll say about that. Tell me if you do this. Timers. Having like a self timer on your desk or on your phone or whatever, and you clock in at a certain period of time, like the Pomodoro method, right? 15, 15, 50, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. Um, do you do that?
No, when I should. I
We
was
all
talking
should.
to I was talking to you about this before we started recording, and especially when it comes to engineering. Anytime I get fixated on an issue I'm trying to solve, I'll like force myself to like brute force through it. And it's never a good idea because anytime I've like catastrophically failed at something, I'm like, fuck it, I gotta go take a break. I'll come back to it and be like, oh, it was just this, and I'll solve it in 5 minutes flat. Something I've just spent 3 hours trying to rework.
uh, I am not a fan of timers because I take a long time to do certain things sometimes, but I know that's why they work because if you're uncomfortable taking a short period of time doing something, they force you to get it done. But I'm always like, I'll just add more time. I'll just add more
Yeah,
time.
right.
So that's the problem with that is like there's no like pushback of the timer. It's like there's no punishment, right? So for me, well, actually, there's a punishment. At the end of the day, I'm just crying because I didn't get my work done. But there's no there's no like immediate negative feedback that tells me the consequences, and that's why I don't like timers. But some people love them, and I'm gonna try to do them. Like try
No,
having
I
a little
want to
timer,
try
but
to now. I think I'm going to do that for the rest of the day.
yeah, go for it. Small breaks. So something with the timing stuff, having a small break after like 20, 40 minutes of working, getting up, stretching your legs, moving around, coming back, that seems to actually help people. I've noticed
Mhm.
they get to like get like they like work insanely intense for like 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time. And then their brain needs to switch a little bit, take us a little breather, and then come back into the mess. And sometimes that works for people. Sometimes working straight through 4 hours straight is good for people. What do you think of that?
It comes and goes. I'd say in the
Okay.
morning, I try to keep myself at the desk after I get breakfast made, eat, and like I just put in a couple of really good hours. Afternoons, I definitely need to take small breaks, and I'll find myself doing that because yeah, the I always like to tell people you can design for like 3 to 4 hours per day.
Mhm.
Basically, I think any idea that we work like actual 8 hours per day at the computer doing designs, it's bullshit. We're in a creative industry. You can't run creativity 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
I mean, you can, but you'll burn out really fast.
Yeah, yeah, it's not sustainable. The,
It's
the
not
three to four
sustainable.
hour range is much more attainable, and
I
you're able to
I'll
be consistent.
I'll give you a little hint. I'm doing that right now. Running so fucking much. Oh my
Your
god, I have no
founders
sleep.
watching this like, son of a bitch.
Well, I
He
so
got us.
so I think it's very different when you are the founding designer of a company versus just a designer at a company because I have more responsibility to get this done. I have the weight and the pressure. Um, we talked about it last time about the pressure from above, and because I'm so close to the pressure and the volume is so small, I feel it more, and so it requires that I actually use that pressure to get things done. Do I wish that I could only do 3 hours a day of creative work and the rest busy work? Yes. Not realistic to get things done to find market fit. Just not. But I know it'll teeter off over time and it'll get much easier with the pressure. The pressure will be let off a little bit more. Or maybe it'll be compounded. Who knows? But
Yeah, you'll get to the point where you're like, yeah, it's just reaching product market fit. It's easy. Once we get there, we're fine. And like time goes on, you're like, actually, we're straying further away from it. Now things are getting worse.
I mean, yeah, I love my founders. They have such a great mindset. And one thing that I know that they were talking about, I don't know if your founders are the same way, is that like those like UB keys and like having to like have super secure passwords that change every couple of months or whatever it is. No. He's like, I'm absolutely not allowing that. And there's also like all these other little things that they're like, these are
You
typical
just do
companies things.
stock too. Come on, that's it.
The bottom line, what I'm trying to get at there is that uh, you have to have founders that are really like sane and understanding. You, you can describe your founder. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on founders, like just how do you find the right founder and what do you look for in a founder. So I'll pause there on that.
Yeah, we could do that. No, that'd be a
Yeah,
really good episode.
I'll write that down.
Yeah, I love the founder that I work with. She and I have like a very great chemistry between how we handle work and how we handle the problems that come up. I think we play off of each other super well, and that's why I took this role. Yeah, last thing I'll say on the hourly commitment to designing or doing things per day is I it's been interesting as I've like moved into this director role. It is less designing, more like true product thinking. Whereas, I mean, like working at DigitalOcean, it was an enterprise. So any product thinking I was doing during any stint on our product team that I did, it was, hey, we're trying to solve X problem. Let's solve it. Whereas now I'm doing both the, hey, what is X problem and how do we solve it? So it does lead to less actual designing, which is kind of nice. But there's definitely days where I'm like, damn, I wish I didn't have to be like running through product in, 4 hour stand ups to figure something out. And I wish I could just be designing, but it's grass is always greener.
True, absolutely. Okay, so quick run through: brown noise with no lyrics, or music with no lyrics, timer, small breaks. The last two, and then we'll be able to wrap up. Uh, Carrot on a treadmill. So sometimes I like to think of this. Tell me if you do the same thing. Where I like to set a reward for different things. I can't have this brownie if I don't finish this website. I can't. If
Give me a real example of this. What are you rewarding yourself here?
No, I'm not even joking. Like literally having a reward after completing work. So it's
Yeah,
called the
exactly.
carrot
I
on
want to
treadmill
hear.
thing, right?
Give me an example. I want to hear. What do you
Um,
actually do? It's not a brownie for a website. What is it?
well, sometimes I hold myself like I won't eat until I finish something. That way, because if
Hmm.
I eat and I get like full, I'm like lazy and tired. I don't want to do it anyway. So sometimes I use the hunger as like a mechanism to force me to like do it faster and just get it done. So that's one thing. So I'll hold off dinner or something like that. Something else probably be I can't go to an event or something that I really want to go to unless I finish this thing, which typically I'd rather just finish the thing anyways. So that doesn't work out very well. I think that there's usually it is food for me. That's like my MO, food. So I prefer to hold that literally as a carrot in front of me than like I don't know some other like activity. Like I think that uh, I'll drop anything if my girlfriend's like, "Hey, let's go do something." Boom, done. Let's go. Like work comes second, but that's why I use food because it's something that's not really some. It's something that's always there, and I can always use it as a way to get me to do more things. What about you? Do you have any of that?
I take, yeah, sort of a similar approach. If you want the meanest fucking growth hack to doing a lot of work quickly, don't eat. That is, I hate saying that out loud because it sounds like horrifying. But in the mornings or something, if I really know I need to like dial it up and focus in, I would just have coffee, and that'll be my morning. I will
Wow.
also say, like, in a more healthy and smart way of thinking, my lunches, for instance. I don't go super carb heavy for lunches because I notice if I do like
Yeah.
eat a lot of grain or that kind of food, I'll be sluggish for the rest of the day. So I try to keep it like very light. I try to keep a lot of sugar in there through fruits because that sort of like allows me to sustain energy until the end of the day. Whereas then for like breakfast and for dinner, I'll typically do more carbs in there,
Fair.
more grains, things like that. But that is like that's my growth hack for eating or not eating while doing work throughout the day.
That's a smart one. Carbs, yeah, get those out of the way in the morning or in the evening, but like in the middle of the day, probably not a good idea. I know that whenever we all go to lunch as a team, we eat something that's really heavy. We come back to work, we're like, we don't want to
Absolutely.
do anything.
Yeah, I'm taking a nap right now.
Okay, so last but not least, tell me if you do this one. Social media blockers. So I have an app on my phone called Opal, which installs a
Oh,
VPN on
jeez.
your phone, and it sets a lock on all my apps that I choose to if I want to, or it has predefined like groupings. And so all my social media apps I block throughout the day from 9 to 4, and I can always unlock them. But it has like a 5 second pause, and then you can like click on how long
Yeah,
you
it's
want, up
just
to
it,
15
it gives you
minutes.
enough time to make it an annoyance so that it starts to
Yes,
like mentally train you to recognize the annoyance and it makes you not want to do it because there's an annoying construct in the way.
exactly. If it's too much of an effort just to do that, then I'm just
Mhm.
going to go back to work anyway. So sometimes I see that message, I'm like, damn it, I gotta go back to work, which I think is great. I think it's great because that stuff is addicting. It's made to be addicting to get you to look at it for ad revenue. So it's a really good thing to have a blocker. I don't know of any other blockers, but I know that this thing does work for me. Do you have anything like that?
I don't, and I need the opposite.
Oh wow.
I fucking hate social media. I think the only one I actually use now is Twitter, and I mostly use it for business. Like, I mean, before I got into design and that, I didn't have social media. Like, I did not have Facebook, I did not have Instagram, I did not have Snapchat, I did not have
I
Twitter,
I
none
love
of
that you
these
say it's for
things.
business. Like, hey
And
babe, sorry I'm tweeting so much. I'm on it for business.
no, I'm serious. My entire
I
persona
know,
on my
I know.
Twitter is
I'm the same
business, and
way.
that's why I like it. Is because it's not like personal bullshit, and that's why I like. I'm shit. Look at my Instagram too. I don't think I have like a single post it's me. It was just like business Instagram, and that's the only reason I kept it around. And now nobody uses Instagram, so like my friends and I send each other memes and shit, but otherwise, like, I don't know. I don't really look at social media during the workday. My problem is after work where I'm like, all right, my friends have sent like, I'll just look at Instagram and say they've got like one of my friends, we just like send memes back and forth all the time. And I'll just see this list of like 30 things he sent me. I'm like, fuck, I gotta like read my Instagram newspaper here and catch up with whatever he's sending me. But yeah, I mean, that's the only time I have issues with it is after work. And I'd rather be doing other things. That's the point of the workday is
Mhm.
do work and then you get to do other things.
Yeah.
And I find myself using social media sometimes too much, especially at like the end of the night. And I'd
Yeah.
rather just not be doom scrolling. But otherwise, like during the workday, I have no issue with it. I'm like, if I'm on Twitter for work. And I don't like typically respond to people in non-work fashion during work.
I'm either on Twitter for work or I'm on Twitter for work. And there is no difference to me because I think it's like you have to interact with people to actually get engagement. You have to get to know, you have to understand what's going on, especially for us trying to help other people be aware of what's going on in the design community and also help get designers to be better at their craft, whatever. I think that
Do you run the Cardinal account at all on Twitter?
no, I don't even know who runs that to be honest. I think
I
I have an
co-run the
idea.
make log one, and I think the funniest thing ever is when I tweet something from my personal account, and then I switch over to the make log account, and I'll like quote retweeted or comment or something like that, I switch back to my account. It's just this like game of volleyball where you're hitting it, running to the other side of the court, hitting it back, running to the other side of the court.
Why don't you just have it on your computer and then on your phone and then just...
No, it doesn't do that. Because if you interact with anything after switching on one of the devices, it will like force a reload and run the other account.
That's not true.
Yeah, absolutely. Try
If
it.
I'm on Twitter on my phone,
Yeah.
and like Twitter app, and then on the
Yep.
computer, I'm on a different account, they won't switch.
If you have them both linked to like your instance of Twitter, yes.
No, they won't do that. You're broken.
All right, after the pod, Chad.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, this is a good episode. I know we actually went longer than we thought we would, but it was great.
It was fun.
Good episode. So we'll do it again soon. All right.
Awesome.
Peace out.
Later.